Greetings all you maniacs and minds on the grinds. Welcome back to another Warframe weapon showcase. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Tenent Flux rifle, one of the biggest upgrades I have ever seen in the game. The Archiplasmor to the Tenent Archiplasmor is a pretty significant jump in pure raw power, but the Archiplasmor, it was always a pretty strong weapon when, utilized, correctly, ribbon, Warframe bus, all that. But the Tenent Flux rifle is kind of a monster, and I don't see it too often, but apparently some people have gone to level cap with it. I don't know why you would ever do that, but anyway, here's the build I'm going to be using in this video when we go into Steel Path. So, that status chance is enormous. So, Flux Overdrive. Alright, so this gives you status chance between 150 and 250% over 5 seconds when the beam is fired. So I don't know exactly the cap of the status chance of this thing. I want to say it's about 400-ish%, which means 4 status types per shot, and this thing fires at 23.25 rounds a second, with prime shred anyway, which I would recommend anyway with this weapon. And then you have, galvanized aptitude and then galvanized chamber plus primary deadhead, which is not maxed yet. By the way, when this thing gets maxed, it's going to make this gun even more powerful. So if you have this maxed, that's great. Vigilante supplies is not needed, but the crit ups are nice. This thing does not run through ammo super fast, but it's kind of a nice little commodity mod to have. This weapon apparently doesn't really count as a beam weapon, but it also kind of does. What I mean by that is Sinister Reach works on it, at least I think, but it's not like a continuous beam. It's kind of this weird hybrid between a machine gun, a very accurate machine gun, mind you, and a beam weapon. It's very strange, but whatever. Also, I have heat on the weapon, and the heat percentage is 44%. I'm going to be using Nidus with this build that I've showed before with the Archiplasmor, because you're going to be using Warframe buffs and all that stuff. Teaming Virulence, I love having Teaming Virulence on Nidus. It's so much fun. Panzer Wolf File is going to be spreading viral around. Alright, here we go. I'm going to stay I think I'm going to stay 10 minutes, just like I did with the Archiplasmor. So this is going to be pretty insane. I've already showed the DPS off in the Simulacrum in a previous video. Okay, there's some enemies there, but I want a large group. There we go. And I also want to get to a more advantageous position. So you know what? I'm just going to ignore these guys for now, and I'm actually going to go to where the life support is. Also where all the enemies are spawning. I know I just want to reposition myself a bit. This room would be fine. I also need to get my stacks going, so that's pretty important right now. So I'm just going to tether this guy. Get my stacks going a bit, because I kind of need them when the acolyte shows up, because I don't want to get one shot here. Which is totally possible. Anyway. Yeah. That is pretty ridiculous DPS, to be honest. Now remember, the status chance is fluctuating from something like 350 to about 400% if I'm doing the math in my head correctly, which I'm probably not, because I am terrible at Warframe math, because you kind of need an a spreadsheet and a supercomputer to really figure out everything that's going on. But I mean, the amount of heat procs and slash procs, I know corrosive only caps at 10. Same thing with viral. But heat and slash do not have caps. At least I don't think they have caps. They might have a cap at like, I don't know, 1 billion or something, like, which is the integer cap of the engine. But you rarely ever see that. You can see it with Gara. It's totally possible to see that cap with Gara. But that takes forever. But yeah, 230%. I'm getting, I think the critical chance from 20% is, I want to say it's over 60, 70-ish percent status, critical chance. Because with Point Strike, this thing has a 50% critical chance. And 230 is only a little bit more than, you know, 150. But yeah. Yes, it doesn't arc between opponents, but again, this really isn't a beam weapon. At least I don't think it counts as a beam weapon. But this thing has such insane DPS, and also, at normal missions, even when you're fighting liches, you're gonna tear through the enemy so fast that you don't really need to worry about arcing between opponents. And if this thing arced, this would be one of the most broken weapons in the game, because this kind of DPS is kind of absurd.
I've delivered another life support capsule.
Yes, each shot isn't doing much damage. But remember, it's 23 rounds a second with a 120 round mag and over 300% status chance with heat, corrosive, and slash and puncture on the weapon, because this thing has slash and puncture, although it is a bit slash forward. So yeah, that is some pretty incredible DPS, and we'll really see that once I fight the acolytes. So I'm just gonna go and activate a life support here, because why not? I was really surprised by this weapon. I thought it was gonna be strong. I was looking at the stats, I'm like, okay, this might actually be something really powerful, but I was not expecting it to be this strong. And I'm not even really getting headshots here when the enemies are wrapped up. I do have everything stacked up, though. I mean, you just hold the trigger down, point it at the enemies, and they collapse. I mean, and also this thing has a tendency to rip enemies to pieces, so it's good for Necros, if you care about doing that. I don't think it makes that much of a difference with Necros, but, you know, it's a thing. Yeah. But we'll really see the DPS once the acolyte spawns, right? And yeah, apparently some people have been taking this to level cap, and I can see why you'd be able to do that. I don't think this damage would fall off too soon. Especially if you're using, like, I don't know, Chroma or Banshee or someone else that can really boost this weapon up. I mean, all I'm giving it is critical chance. I'm giving it, like, I don't know, 60-some% crit chance.
This will help our cause. When you need it, extraction is ready.
Now for Mr. Acolyte. Activate the crits. Tear through them. Yeah. Now, is Hammer Shot, like, 100% needed? No. I think Vital Sense might give you, like, more damage, just a little bit, but I don't know. I like having that meme of super high status chance on weapons. It's pretty funny looking to me, and it's pretty powerful. Okay. Of course, it'd be Mr. Mag Bubble. So, unfortunately, I can't really show the weapon here because it will just kill me. So I'm just going to stomp him to death and wait for the next acolyte, because Mr. Mag Bubble, yeah, you see that? I can't even shoot right now because this Mag Bubble's still on me. It just would be malice, right? So annoying. But as you can see, this thing's not arguing between opponents, but the DPS is so ridiculous. Yes, the enemies are procced with viral, not all of them actually, but if you run the Panzerwolf Phyla, this is just normal, to be honest. The enemies are going to get procced with viral all the goddamn time, because that's what the Panzer does. Hans is Mr., you know, spread viral absolutely everywhere. Now, the only weakness to this thing is really tough shields. If you don't have this thing modded for magnetic, it's going to take a while to get through shields because puncture and slash are not particularly strong against shields. Yes, enough slash will get through it, but it takes forever. So honestly, if you have this thing with innate magnetic and you mod it for viral heat, then that's going to give the corpus a really bad day. Or, you know, you can always just mod for toxin, right? Even though toxin is only strong in really, really high amounts against high-level corpus. And especially the robotics. Like, you're not doing much with toxin there. Because they have like a 75% resistance to it or something stupidly high.
Additional life support has arrived.
Plant my little nest. Can you stop with that stupid-ass turret? But yeah. Is the Flux rifle worth it? I say fuck yeah. It is. It's not only powerful, but it's also a lot of fun. There's just something about these super high rate of fire weapons like this that are just, it's just so much fun. Alright, wrap them up again. Make sure my crits are going. Yeah, but having innate magnetic on this thing would make this thing, you know, absolutely destroy corpus. I mean, it already does with just viral on it, but heat viral, but against their really tough shielded enemies like the dogs or some of their other units, like high level units, it'll do a lot better. Against Grenier, it won't. The magnetic will be basically negligible. Well, except for the condition overload type effect from galvanized, you know, the new galvanized mod, essentially condition overload. Radiation might also not be a bad option because there's quite a few enemies in this game, including some of these Grenier I'm shooting, that are actually weak to radiation, not corrosive. And all Corpus robotics are weak to radiation. At least I'm like 98% sure of that. Okay, so I gotta activate this and then run and get a tethered enemy. And then just blast his face. You see what I mean about shields? It's taking forever to get through those shields. And also this guy makes himself invincible. Yeah, you can see his health is just draining. He's trying to hit me and everything, but it's not really doing much, isn't it? Yeah. Pretty powerful. Keep in mind, acolytes are tough. They have stupid amounts of health and armor. Like really, really dumb amounts of health and armor.
Hold out as long as you can.
Anyway, I'm activate this one last life support for brevity and skedaddle, because that's the showcase. And remember, if it tears through Steel Path this fast, imagine what it's going to do to normal little missions. I've used this in Disruption. It works pretty well against the Demolists, but some Demolists are pretty damn resistant to status effects. So the one weakness this weapon has is that it's really, really... can I stop getting secondary dexterity? It's really dependent on that status. So if you're shooting an enemy who's basically straight up immune to status, it's not going to do too well. But those are few and far between. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, in Trilby, we trust.